Well, it's been snowing and blowing quite ferociously outside, so now is a perfect time to throw some accessories onto the Wildcat Trail. Now you guys have seen my ride videos in the past, you know where I ride, it's rocky, it's muddy, and a winch is pretty much an absolute necessity no matter what machine you have. So obviously we are going to install a winch. I got another Badlands 3500 winch from good old Harbor Freight. This is the exact same winch I put on my father-in-law's Suzuki. Good winch. Like I said in that video, you can't beat the quality for value with these winches. They're tough, and for 150 bucks for a 3,500 pound winch, you just can't beat it. One thing different I am going to do is this comes with a steel cable. I'll probably be getting on Amazon and ordering a synthetic rope for mine because I like that better than a steel cable. For now, we'll install it. And until I get that synthetic rope, we will run the steel and switch it out when it gets there. This also, one thing we'll have to do is this comes with the handlebar for a four-wheeler. I have a regular winch switch over there on the shelf. So we'll have to tear the winch control part that came with this so we can wire up the toggle switch. It's no big deal, that's what I did on Mighty Mouse. It's super easy to do. And the second thing we're gonna install, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, how open these are. Look at the mud. I mean, these trails are just mudslingers. And if you think the front is bad, well, check out this rear. Woo! Yeah, there is absolutely nothing here to stop the mud from slinging up and splatting all over the back windshield. Luckily I have this, or else what little bit I did get to ride this before all the white stuff fell would have been covering the back of my head. Not that I mind, not that I'm not used to that, taking old Mighty Mouse into the deep, but if you can stay clean, it's definitely an advantage. So I got Mud Buster fender flares for this guy. So we're gonna throw them on there too, for a little bit of added protection. These Aristocrat trails already come with pretty much a pre-made bracket in here. I know it's dark, you can kind of see in there. It's made for a winch to bolt right on. So we're gonna pull this front bumper off. Probably, I don't know what's involved with this front plastic, but we're gonna have to pull this off too so that we can cut the hole in here for our Fairlead. And you guys will see as we get in there, there are already pre-made holes. That's too dark. Oh, you can kind of see right there to bolt the Fairlead on. So Articat slash Textron slash now Tracker, I guess, was at least thinking ahead and making that improvision there for adding a winch. Making it simple and making it so you don't have to buy a separate mounting plate. So let's get this bumper off. Let's get this front plastic off. Looks like we've got a couple Torx bits holding it on. And we'll go from there. So this bumper has got little T30s on the bottom and T45s up here on the top. I think they're just 4 bolts. And this guy comes off. Simple enough. I think this is a factory accessory bar, right straight from Textron, Articat, whatever. From now on, I'm going to call it Textron because that's what's on the badging, and that's who was making these this 2019. That's a pretty hefty bumper. Feels a little on the light side, so it's probably pretty thin wall metal tubing. So I'm not going to intentionally test it out by bashing it into something. Is that? Tell you what, guys, this is pretty simple. And now you can see the holes I was telling you about for bolting your Fairlead. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Might be a little bit of a pain to get in there past the front diff to bolt, but I think we'll get her. So I tell you what, I guess the next step is to crack open the box and I'll show you what's inside. So the Badlands winch comes with pretty much everything you need. Of course, you've got the winch, you've got your wires that run from your winch to your solenoid, you got your solenoid, a nice roller Fairlead, a nice fused main power line, and of course your ground wire. Again, 3,500 pound comes with like an ATV style handlebar switch with the mounting plate. We're going to be swapping that out for a regular toggle switch. It also comes with the wire then for the corded remote. So we'll have to find some place to mount this guy. I'm thinking I might actually mount it here on the front somewhere so that you can plug in and use it while you're reeling. And of course it comes with terminal end caps. It comes with your main hook, and as a bonus comes with a nice D-ring to use as well. And it does come with a mounting plate if you so need, which we do not so need. So let's see how this bad boy is going to fit in here. Oh, hopefully I got enough room. Oh, like it was made for it. That'll do. Can't tell if my holes are lining up, but they look to be. So this should be a pretty easy install as far as that's concerned. I got one lock nut and washer per bolt, and these bolts are 12 millimeter. Now is going to come the tricky part, especially when you don't have a helper. Probably definitely easier with the third hand, or a fourth hand, and a fifth hand. We're going to get her done now. All right, holes lined up perfectly. Can't beat that. Now we got that hooked up, the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and attach my wires that run from our winch solenoid to our winch and run them up, and then run our cables from our battery, which is under the passenger seat. I'm going to go ahead and take the center console out as well, which it just has 4 T30s. Take this lock nut loose, and then the shift knob should twist off, and then this should pull off, so we can run our battery cables up and through to the front. And I'm thinking I'm probably just going to go ahead and mount that winch solenoid just right in this area somewhere. Whoop, missed two. There's also 2 push pins in here that hold this center console on, that I almost didn't see. One on the other side. Alright, so I got most of the wiring done here for the winch. You can see I got my wires run up here to my winch solenoid, which I just mounted here against the firewall. My wires then run down, and as you can see, I completely took the inside out. One thing I will say about this Wildcat, super easy to work on. There was maybe 10 bolts here, and I was able to get this whole floor pan out. It's sitting over there. You can see it's all one piece. It came right out, which made it really, really nice for running wires, so I love that. But of course, I got my battery wires run away from the drive shaft, just kind of zip tied them to this wire loom here, and they are up. Oops, I got my battery on a charger. I did end up putting my circuit breaker back here. I wanted to put it up there on front where it'd be easy, but the way the wire worked, it just worked out so perfect to have it this way. And the only thing that'll cover it is this panel that can be easily removed, so it won't be that big a deal if ever we got to get in there to replace a fuse or anything. So the only thing I have left to do is to hook up the wiring harness for our switch, and then for our corded remote as well. But I think before I do that, because I'm not quite sure where I want to mount the plug, like I was saying, I'm thinking somewhere in the front. So we may end up mounting it on this guy somewhere. So I'm going to get this guy back on first, but we got to cut that panel out right there for a roller Fairlead. As you can see, it's already scored here on the back side. I'm just going to take a knife and cut that the rest of the way out, and we'll bolt this back on, get our Fairlead hooked on, and then decide where we want to stick this plug. Voila! Oh, lines right up. We got our cable out. Fairlead. Boulder Fairlead Fest. It's gonna be a bit tricky, but at least to get in there and stuff. And of course, we got our fancy red Badlands pull strap. All right, front bumper's all back on. She's looking good under there. I went ahead and I tore apart the handlebar switch so I could steal the wires. Of course, you had to cut them off because they just had them kind of glued. Well, they had them soldered and then sealed. So I cut those off, wired some connectors in there that we will be able to use this monetary switch with. It's actually one I got for the X4, so it's a horizontal. I'm gonna put it right in here vertical, but we may switch that out with one later on. Anyway, it'll be just as simple. Plug the wires into this guy. And you see here a power wire. I actually added this jumper to. These two are connected. And that'll go into the terminal that'll light this guy up. So I'm gonna go throw this switch in, see how much wire I have to play with so we know where we need to mount the rest of this guy at. All right, winch is all installed. Buggy is all back together. I mounted my switch right here. Again, I got this for the X4. That's why it's a horizontal. We may end up switching that out at some point. But the only electrical thing you didn't see is I just tied in here to the power outlet to get power from my winch. Although, as you hear afterwards, I realized this is a 12-volt constant. So it's got power to it all the time. Shouldn't be too big of a difference. I drive my buggies enough that this battery's not going to go dead. But everything's hooked up here. Under the hood, hopefully out of the way enough and fairly protected. If not, I may build some kind of guard here. We'll see in the future. But on the next video, we're going to go ahead and get these Mudbuster fender extenders out. You guys are already playing around seeing how they fit. But I think before I do that, I'm going to actually brave the cold out there and give this guy a quick washing because it is absolutely filthy. I probably won't go crazy, but I will blast some of this mud off there to make it easier to install the mud guards. It's either that or do it by hand, and I'd rather suffer through a little bit of cold water on a cold day than have to scrub by hand. So, once we get these fenders installed, then we can do what I'm sure you guys have been waiting for and do a good old rip around riding video with this guy and give her a good thorough testing out. Whether there's snow on the ground or not. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the Badlands winch install on my Wildcat trail. And just a quick reminder, I do have my first podcast up and it is available to listen to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, most all your podcasting venues has my podcast. And you can also head over to the Power Sports Enthusiast podcast channel on YouTube, subscribe there, and catch the live filming of our main topic. And just because you watch the video or join in for the live recording doesn't mean there's no reason to not listen to the podcast, because I do include more in the actual podcast than what you get for just the main topic discussion. So it makes it worth it. Well, I'm going to get this guy washed off. Again, thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on riding.